It's amazing what a bell will do. Y'all used to be like that in school, right? You talk like crazy and the bell rang, you ran home. Well, today's Friday. Did you know that? Friday, a quick learner. And tomorrow is Pancake Day. Are we ready? It's going to be a great day. Be a little chilly in the morning, but it's going to be a great day. Thank you all for coming. We are going to have a great, what? Oh, who am I? I forgot about that. Oh, curious. All right. I'm Stephen Hammers, and I'm Oh, shucks. I'm happy to be your president. It's exciting. We got an amazing club, and we have a lot more than 47 people who reserved today. So, Drew is going to come up and do our invocation, but he's also going to pray for Larry Kane. Went to the emergency room this morning, and don't know why, but he was not feeling well at all. So please pray for him. Drew?
Bow with me, if you will. Mighty God, we give you thanks for the blessing of another day, for your goodness and your mercy. Lord, we pray for our friends that need your peace and your presence and your healing. We especially lift up Larry Kane and pray for you to be all over him and guide the doctors that are trying to help him out. Lord, we pray for peace in our world. We pray that you guide us as we go and serve. Bless this meeting, the time we have together, and the food we're about to take. We ask all those things in your holy name. Amen.
Good afternoon. Please join me in the pledge to our flag, the most beautiful flag. I pledge allegiance.
Republic for which he stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now for the four things we think, say, or do. 1,
Truth,
2,
fair to all concerned,
3,
will feel goodwill and better friendship,
and 4.
beneficial to all concerned. All right. Our wonderful secretary, Jennifer Wayne, is going to introduce our guest and visiting Rotarians.
All right, folks. Do I need to do the Larry Kane thing? You got to RSVP. If I only had a hat. We have 4 guests today, 3 of which are in the pipeline, 2 of which went through orientation today. So we're super excited about that. I'll let Laura introduce our first non-proposed member. Let's work on that.
This is Turner Wilson. Turner, stand. Turner is with Thrivent. He and his wife have relocated to our area from Alabama. Yes. And he is interested in learning more about Rotary, and I think he's interested in being part of this ragged little crew. So get to know him. He's got a name badge on. It's got a green star on it. Green means go meet him. Okay. So get used to seeing green stars on our guest tags going forward. Okay. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Ashley Burnett is with us. She has not been through orientation, but she is in the pipeline.
Speak today. Oh, I wasn't prepared for this. Thank you. Well, I think I just completed membership steps 2 days ago, maybe 1 day ago. And then I'll go through orientation soon. So just happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
And there are 2 members that went through orientation today. You know, this is your last free lunch.
Catherine Stark with Vanderbilt Health, and I went through orientation today. Super excited to join soon. Thank you.
Here's Bill.
Bill Jetter, went through orientation, and as far as I know, I passed. Okay. And Bill Jetter, retirement.
Thank you, everyone. Have a nice weekend.
And Bill,
Everybody.
Bill was a Rotarian in Omaha and past president. Awesome. Omaha. He decided to retire in beautiful Nashville area. All right, time for Happy Bucks. Tucker. Hey, Tucker, what's that award you won? Best under 30 or something?
Yeah, I got selected to be, I guess, a representative of Nashville's top 30 under 30.
Awesome.
Yep. It's through the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. So I don't know if any of you all know about that, but it's a pretty serious disease that infects the lungs and your nervous system. And we're actually pretty close to finding a cure. So if you'd like to be a part of my fundraiser for that, let me know.
Cool.
Sure.
I won't make you walk. I've got $7 today. So my wife and I celebrate our 7th anniversary this week. Yeah.
Here we go. Happy bucks.
Got a happy buck because Pat Ryan was in the hospital, but Pat Ryan is out of the hospital and he's okay.
All right, good.
Here we go, Rod.
I got up this morning and being that it's pancake weekend, pancake day, my brain went back about 40 years, guys. And I was on the procurement committee to go get the grills. And I'm trying to remember, I'm thinking Sid may have been there. And there were fireworks involved. And Jim was there. I think it's Sandy Lloyd. Is that who it was? Went to a small warehouse out in it was chock full of fireworks. Sandy, I guess, had those little stands that you would see that were set up. And where these grills were was up in an, those of you that understand pitches of roof, what, a 412, 512 roof. I had to crawl back up in there, and those of you that have ever grabbed hold of one of the grills knows how heavy it is. Had to drag those out. I thought about it after we got everything set up, and Jim and I we put it in our warehouse the next year, so we wouldn't have to do that. Second thing, thank you very much. Real quick, I had the pleasure of going to the Masters several years in a row. My wife's father was a patron down there. We had tickets. But one of the neatest things that Don and I were talking about this yesterday, we would go to the Butler cabin after the round tonight on Friday night. And they had what used to be, if you'll remember, the caddies down there used to be, they were provided by the club, if you'll remember that. 4 of those caddies would get together. They would go change out of their jumpsuit, get tuxedos on, coach, and they would go to the Butler cabin, and they referred to as the Augusta Quartet, and they would sing for everybody. This particular year, and small, right there, we're all packed in there. Tennessee Ernie Ford comes in. He starts singing with the Augusta Quartet, 16 tons. And it was the most unbelievable experience. And I'm just right here. And so every time we hear that song, think of the Masters. So enjoy the Masters this weekend, guys.
Awesome.
So this is the one in, well, maybe not. He may do it. That I'm going to say, go Tigers. This is the bag that for my second time to ever play cornhole went in the hole twice. So I'm a Auburn Tigers fan.
Did you
for the
win?
day.
Did you win?
I did.
Awesome.
I did. So I'm just putting it out there. Sorry, Larry and Drew, I don't see either of you here, but go Tigers.
Awesome. Anybody else? Here we go, Alan.
There's a dollar, not for the Tigers, but where was the toughest place you played college football besides Ole Miss?
Ole Miss was dead last.
Of course.
It's a toss-up between Georgia, LSU, and Texas A&M.
Wow.
You know, our speaker is a big LSU fanatic graduate. So down with the Tigers.
I'll tell you a story about LSU. So the first time I'd ever played there, I was a freshman. I was a punter. So obviously not knowing what to expect. There was 100,000 people throwing stuff at our bus as we drove in. And, you know, and it was almost like Mardi Gras to where you don't really know what you're going to see. And there's all sorts of crazy things that I dare not mention now. But my first play of the game, I was standing in the back of the end zone 26 seconds into it. and they did a full out blitz on my punt. I had about 9 yards to get it off instead of 15, which for a punter, that's terrifying. And I remember in the middle of the play, like we hadn't snapped the ball yet, but I kind of looked back, and this guy is giving me the bird. And his kid, I looked to his kid, and his kid's probably 7, 8. He's giving me the bird. And I said, "No way, that's not me."
Thank you, Tucker. Anybody else? That's LSU for you.
Okay, I'm sorry that Pat Ryan's not here to hear this, but there's a phrase in the Navy that comes from the submarine force that says, always ready, always here, anytime, anywhere. And today is the 125th anniversary of the founding of the submarine service.
Wow. Hey, at some point, we need to get Pat Ryan to talk about his submarine experiences. It's really amazing.
Week ago today, I finished up my 28. And so I fixed everything went well. So that's behind me. I have a hit for the next year. It's but you can make sure we're all happy. Stop right here. Those who feel I'm taking now. First time I took it. I'm so sorry. What I should keep.
Anybody else? Nope.
All right. Thank you, Tucker. Appreciate it. Some announcements real quick. Let's have Julie come up, talk about Pancake Day. Big day tomorrow.
All right, I'm very excited. I love Pancake Day, so I hope all of you guys are looking forward to it as well. It's going to be a little cold in the morning, but it's supposed to be bright sun, so hopefully everyone's going to be looking to get out of their house and come to a fun and place to be pancakes and give blood and look at cars. So just want to make sure, did everyone see the email yesterday with the assignments of where you're supposed to be, what time and everything? If you didn't, go back and look in your spam box. It would have come from Sarah and I. So make sure that you're looking at that. If you didn't sign up and you still want to volunteer, just come and show up. There will be a place for you to volunteer and help out. We can always use extra hands. Make sure that you're parking behind the school. Come in. It's going to be better if you come in off of the Granny White Park side of the high school instead of the front of it. So that way the big blood assurance bus is going to be in the front. Our clients are the people that are coming to Pancake Day can park in the front of the building. Cars are going to be on the side. So let's make sure as the volunteers, we park behind the building. Does anybody have any questions or need anything before tomorrow? I do have a list with me if you don't know, or if you feel like you didn't get the email. All right. Yeah.
Hey. Definitely do not park in the front or the side. The sides where all the classic cars are going, and the front's where all the blood drive is. So definitely in the back. Stephen Hall, Keeley, who won? You did. Congratulations. Pulled it out barely. Good job. Good job. Don't forget, next week, the 18th, Friday, the 18th, not Saturday, Friday the 18th, we do not have a meeting. It's Good Friday, no meeting next week. The following week, on April 25th, we are at Granny White Park. That is our 50th anniversary celebration, ribbon cutting for the to present the Rotary at the Pavilion, the patio that we just redid. So make sure we come on that. We've invited city council people, mayors, things like that. So it's going to be a great event. And we've also invited the Brentwood Morning Club. So but that'll be a good event. So remember, no meeting here next week, and then April 25th is at Granny White Park. Of course, we'll be sending an email out anyway to remind everybody. So besides all that, that is it for the announcements. So are you going to introduce, or Jennifer is? You are. Okay. All right, Bert.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Our speaker today is Courtney Johnston. She's a District 26 council member of Nashville. And in the past, she's been part of the Budget and Finance Committee, Rules, Confirmation, and Public Elections Committee, Charter Revision Committee, COVID-19 Financial Oversight Committee, Audit Committee, and Continuum of Care Homelessness Planning. She's married to Daniel Johnston, and she went to LSU. And she's part of the Creve Hall Neighborhood Association, South Nashville Civitan, and Nolensville Pike Business Consortium. So would you welcome Courtney Johnston?
Good afternoon, everybody. So I spoke here, I think, was it 2 years ago that I spoke? I can't remember how long ago. And I think the best way to go, I can talk about what I think is important and what I'm working on. And I can give you sort of a rundown of some sort of things, but I felt like it was more beneficial to just open it up for questions, give you some topics, and open it up for questions. I know this is Brentwood Rotary and we're in Nashville, but what happens in Davidson County definitely affects our surrounding Collier counties. And so it's important for everyone to pay attention to the craziness that's going on always in Davidson County. So he's correct in my committee assignments. My most important, I think, is budget, but also audit. Audit has probably been the most effective that it's been in the last couple of years because we actually have people on that committee that are asking tough questions and won't let it go. So the three council members that are on that committee are myself, Berkeley Allen, and Angie Henderson, and we're all three of us are very much elbow down into things, type of gals, and so we've done a lot of good work there, and we continue to do things. The most notable audit that we just completed is actually multiple investigations having to do with Nashville General. We're coming into our budget season. We should hear from the mayor sometime before the end of the month. He'll have to file that in May, his budget ordinance. And we are expecting a significant property tax increase yet again. On the heels of 4 or 5 years ago, we increased 34%. So now we're looking, my over under is around 20%. There's, I can explain to you the process, but it really, and I'm happy to go through it. It will pass. There's groups that are wanting to fight it, and what really kind of what the mayor puts out, just the way that our government is set up, it's going to pass, and so we need to brace for that. Public safety has always been one of my huge focuses. My LPR legislation passed in 2022, allowing LPRs in the right of way. We still do not have LPRs in the right of way because we have not approved a contract. Mayor Freddie O'Connell has failed to bring that contract in front of us. At this point, we know we don't have the votes with this council, though. Vanderbilt just put out a poll not too long ago that 83% of those polled are in favor of LPRs. So that shows you a little bit about how disconnected the council is versus our population, because it's not a political issue. It really is not. It's a public safety issue. We also have not been able to get FUSIS, which is, I've got some law enforcement in here, or we did, I thought. FUSIS is the camera system. It's actually not cameras. It's a software integration system that allows businesses or places like 50 Forward, if there's security cameras outside, if something was to happen here, they could opt in to where the MNPD could access those cameras with a live feed, which will help with investigations, but also helps with more efficient response to things that are going on, to help keep our officers safe, but also to bring whomever we need to bring to justice in more of a safe manner. Working constantly on the homelessness issue that we have in Nashville, which is, it's a growing problem. We started a huge push under Mayor John Cooper, investing $50 million of ARPA funds. We had also invested a little bit in the CARES, but mostly that $50 million came from ARPA funds. We have not spent that money quite yet. Not all of it. We have about a year and a half left to spend that. We're doing some good things. There's some challenges. Obviously, it's a challenging problem. It's a challenging population, and they're challenging issues to tackle. I do think we're moving in the right direction, albeit slowly. Someone asked me to talk about the Titan Stadium, so I'm happy to do that. I made a list of some things. Our transit referendum passed. I wrote an article where I thought that was nonsense. We have a reappraisal this year. Housing and infrastructure study came back, which was precipitated or caused by the Nest proposal. I'm sure y'all remember hearing all the craziness around Nest. So I'm happy to talk about that, talk about Nashville general and possibly the council reduction that was initiated by the state. So I think it's probably better for me just to open it up for questions for people. And somebody's gonna be running all around. Do you want to call on people since you've got the mic? You guys, okay, we'll go here.
How did the wheels get off the track at the General Hospital?
Nashville General has a history of being mismanaged from a fiscal perspective. Metro has subsidized from the beginning. It's in the billions of dollars that we've subsidized that hospital. It's really frustrating. They call it a safety net hospital, and it is a safety net hospital, but you know what else is a safety net hospital? Vanderbilt, St. Thomas, Centennial. Our hospitals don't turn away people because they don't have health insurance. They all have indigent care policies and things like that. So when we say, oh, it's our safety net, we got lots of safety net hospitals and other smaller like Matthew Walker Clinic, things like that. Where it went off the rails, that's a great question. It really went off the rails under Dr. Webb. So I am very pleased that he is gone. It's unfortunate that we had to pay him an additional $860,000 to get him gone. But the investigations that were done and the audit, we're now doing a forensic audit, which will really show some things. But there were contracts that were being executed that had not been signed, that had not gone in front of the hospital authority. Those totaled $4.6 million, I think, in PSAs, which is service providers. And then, city valet, there's just several things. It's been years and years. The CEO, the hospital authority does. Yeah, hospital authority, those, they're like any of our boards and commissions. And we have, I think in the 50s of, I don't know why Metro years ago decided that we should run our government by boards and commissions, but we do. And so that's who hires that person. Yeah.
What's happening with TPAC and the new TPAC and the relocation of TPAC and the funding of TPAC?
So TPAC has a huge capital campaign going on to pay for their new location, wherever it will be. I don't know the status of that. The last I heard was that those conversations had obviously devolved. I know where they want to be, which is right in front of the new Titan Stadium, sort of where the river and the bridge come together there in that corner. I really don't know. Bob Mendez, who was on council for 8 years, is now the chief development officer and has been negotiating those types of things, where people are going to be and this, that, and the other. I know that they came to them late in the game and said, I think it's going to be another $50 million in infrastructure costs that we were going to pass on to TPAC in addition to the original amount that we were going to impose on them. And that just made their capital campaign untenable from their perspective. So I know they're looking for other spaces. I don't know where that is right now, but it's unfortunate because TPAC needs to be there, right front and center, in my opinion.
What can you tell us about your perspective on what should have been done with the transit bill and directions to make Nashville transit work for the surrounding communities?
Yeah. So I wrote an article on it, and I encourage you to go to my website is district26nashville.com and the number 2, the number 6. And under news and updates, you'll see several articles that I've written about a multitude of things. And it explains my position pretty well. The actual tax increase was a half-cent sales tax increase that actually got us to where Williamson County is. We were a half cent below, so now it's an even playing field. That wasn't necessarily my problem or the regressive nature of sales tax either. I think there's places and times for that. My problem was what we were promising. Like this was the end all be all. And by their own admission, the traffic signal, for example, was going to have a very small impact on actual flow. It had nothing to do with the interstate system, which is really what's driving a lot of people's frustrations. So it'd be interesting to see what TDOT does with the choice lanes and all that. I think they're going to start on I-24. To me, it was a lot of promise without a whole lot of ability to make good on those promises. We're not going to sidewalk our way out of it. We're not going to bike lane our way out of it. In fact, bike lanes a lot of times takes away lanes of traffic that makes it harder. Their big selling point was that it was going to unlock all these federal funds. No, it does not unlock federal funds. Part of what our federal funds is when you have congressmen and women that are actually fighting for your district to bring those dollars down. But everybody is not necessarily on an even playing field, but we weren't losing, in my opinion, we weren't losing grant funds because we didn't have a dedicated source of revenue. That was not the case. And then here we are now with lots of grants that are in question with the new administration coming in. So we've got no idea what that's going to do. The sidewalks, people were excited about sidewalks, and what I knew was going to happen where let's say we did this level each year about on as far as numbers of miles of sidewalks every year. And then the transit referendum was going to bump that up to here. Well, what happened is in our regular budget or our capital spending plan, this came down. It happened the first capital spending plan that was released after the tax increase came out. Or was approved. It happened immediately. And so really we're just moving dollars over from where that was not the intent. The intent was to expedite things and to make things. Anyway, it was very, very frustrating. So I guess the proof will be in the pudding to me. The long-term nature of it was also something that by the time you get to a point where we're finished, which was a 15-year build out, our population will have grown probably exponentially. We've got a huge amount of investment was into the bus system. I don't care what anybody says. If you drive around and you look on these buses, there are people in the single digits, if not no one on these buses. I just don't know that a bus system is going to be the answer to our transit needs as well. So lots of promises. I doubt we're going to be able to deliver on it. Thankfully, it was a small impact. I would have much rather seen that dedicated funding go to NDOT for paving, potholes, building out capital infrastructure that I know that we need and I know that we'll use. So.
I had the same type of question, but I'll get a little more specific. Is there any additional talk about train system? Is there any additional talk about the highways like 24, 440? Doesn't matter what time of day now, you're barely moving.
That's TDOT. That's not me.
That's
the
nothing
interstate.
to do with Nashville at all.
Correct. Wow. Yeah.
Can't Nashville just push them? I mean,
Nashville's probably not the best place per group to advocate at the state level. No. I mean, I get what you're saying, but yeah, all of those decisions are made at TDOT. And so our transit referendum had nothing to do with that. That was the other thing that people say, yeah, I'm so tired of sitting on I-65 going north to try to get into the city. Well, you're still going to be frustrated because this transit referendum is not going to solve that at all.
So I live in South Nashville. I think I'm in Berkeley's area, but I drive around a lot during rush hour, getting to baseball games for my two sons. When you're downtown on James Robertson, there's the hanging lights that close lanes on egress and ingress to like add a third lane, depending on that. Just this week, I'm going down Harding Place towards Knowlesville Road. It's backed up all the way almost to Trousdale because nobody, and then you have to wait on that to get into the turning lane to get up. And then also on Franklin Road, coming out of Melrose, that's backed up all the way. But going into town and going, west on Harding is wide open. Has there been any studies or have y'all talked about putting those type of lane adjustment lights to open up like that turning lane or a third lane during rush hour to kind of alleviate some of that traffic?
What
I had that idea. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, what I can what I can speak to specifically Nolensville, not Nolensville, but Harding in between 65 and I-24. The intersection of Nolensville and Harding is received grant funding, actually federal grants, to do an intersection improvement there. They're possibly doing a circle there, which I don't know how that's going to work, but I'm not an engineer either, so I don't know. It's a huge intersection and it's a problem coming from all directions. And I get stuck in it all the time. As far as the lanes that you're talking about, that requires the middle lane to stay asphalt. And one of the bigger problems that we have, that's a residential area between 65 and Nolensville specifically. All of that is housing there except for the one church, right? And so what I have done is actually the exact opposite of what you're talking about, which would require that middle lane to stay open. I'm putting a median there. We got a lot of drag racing issues there where it's very, very dangerous. We've had people die literally that were trying to turn into their house that were rear-ended. And when you die from a rear end collision, that's a serious impact. So my goal is to have it slowed down, and that will force that, because what they're using that middle lane to do is to sort of weave in and out. So that project was approved. We're doing it in conjunction with the TDOT repaving program, which they've bumped back for 2 years, but I'm working with my state rep to get that back to where it was, which was supposed to be this year. To have it look more like a boulevard in a residential area. I don't think it's gonna impact anything like what you're talking about. The problem with expanding 3 lanes, getting all the way down there, is that just jams up that intersection even more. Because then you've got more, but I understand what you're saying, because it is kind of a cool concept as you're going over James Robertson, but no, not there anyway. Not there anyway. And all of those decisions are made sometimes with NDOT, but those are all state routes that you talked about. So that's another TDOT thing. So Franklin Road, Harding, Nolensville, all of that are state routes. Yes.
How about the DA and the mayor of Nashville start punishing people, putting them in jail instead of slapping them on the wrist, letting them go drag race again the next day?
Yep. So executive branch, legislative branch, and then the DA is more the judicial type branch. I get it, 100%. We've got about 100 criminals that are repeat offenders that have pages and pages and pages long of things, and it's to the point where we've got the federal office downtown, who I'm friends with, that they are trying to jump in as often as they can when it goes to a federal type level for them to get these people off the street, because it's a revolving door. I think our bonds are too low. Sometimes there are no bonds, even for repeat offenders. And now, just lately, we had the article that came out about our runaway grand jury. Well, when you have a grand jury that is picked by a judge, and the foreperson is literally someone that has been an outspoken advocate of abolishing police and jails, that's probably not the best person to be the foreperson of a grand jury, which is why they had I forgot the term, but basically they failed to indict. When Glenn Funk brings something to seeking an indictment, it's got to be pretty bad. I mean, he doesn't have a reputation of being real hard on criminals. So when he comes with that's pretty impressive. That it was historic how many indictments they failed to issue. So I agree with you 100%. It's another frustration with our police department too, because our police are constantly working really hard and putting their lives at risk to get these folks off the street, and they're out the door before they're finished with the paperwork. So it's a trickle down problem that affects a lot more than just, well, the criminal's out on the street again. Yes.
Hi, do you happen to know if the city has done anything to streamline the permitting or application processes that sometimes utility companies have to do with NES or with other city entities, or people who, shall we say, are gatekeepers, make the process easier? There's a lot of people coming into town. I know AT&T, Google, and Comcast have been here fighting for their share of the market, and more people are trying to come into this market because they see how much is going on. Can you comment to what's going on in terms of the government, what they're trying to do to improve the ability to get services to customers?
Yeah. So two sort of parallel things. So you've got permits and then you have our utility companies, which operate a little bit differently. I actually, a couple of years ago, because we had a paving project in Paragon Mills and it was beautifully repaved. It was amazing. And then about a year later, the gas company had something that they needed to do. It was a planned project and they dug up the whole thing. And I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. We just spent however many hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not more than that. So coordinating with those with our utility companies, I think is really important. We do have a software system and I need to get an update on it because it's been at least a year that we were talking about it. That's going to put all of our departments on the same communication thing. Because right now, for all intents and purposes, it's not this bad, but you have to go to each department to get sign-offs for your permits. And so this software system will communicate. So say your codes and you are the water department or stormwater. Once you sign off, it would automatically go and it sort of goes through the system itself. So that is going to help streamline a lot. And it will also help us pinpoint. Of course, we know what the problem is, but it'll help pinpoint which departments, because there's lots of departments that have to sign off on a permit. So codes gets a bad rap because they're like, oh, because that's where it starts and ends is at codes. But a lot of times it's a different department that is taking a really long time for whatever reason to sign off on that permit. And so this will help sort of pinpoint that as well. So we know. The software system, oh my gosh, you got me. You got me. I'll have to get back to you. I could text somebody real quick, but I'll do that. I don't know. Oh, sure. Procurement. Yeah.
Oh, did you have to go through procurement?
Yes. Yes.
I was just going to ask, since you mentioned you're involved with homeless,
Mhm.
can you elaborate on not just what you were doing in your district, but maybe what the city as a whole are doing to alleviate homeless?
Yeah. So we operate under what is called the housing first model, which is a little bit deceiving because it's not housing first, it's housing and services at the same time. And so when we say we're looking for affordable units or permanent supportive housing, some people will call it PSA. When we're looking at those things, we can't move someone into these units until we have the wraparound services to deal with the issues that the person is being affected by, which is usually the underlying reason that they're on the streets in the first place. So we have rapid rehousing facilities, which really amounts to a motel that has been transformed into that temporary gap housing while we bring people off the street, that's the most challenging population, is that we have people in shelters and we have people on the streets. The people on the streets, especially our chronically homeless that have been there for more than 10 years, they don't understand anymore beds or how, so you have to reacclimate them. So it really is more of a process than people think. We're in the process right now. We're moving the first 5 people today, actually, which is a horrible day to do it in the rain. But out of Old Tent City, which is down off of Anthus Drive, right on the riverfront. And so that's our largest and probably oldest, they call it Old Tent City. The largest and oldest homeless encampment that we have. And so I'm very excited that we've gotten to that. This all started under John Cooper, and we had closed 4 or 5 major encampments. Mine was the second in line. And so I've gone through this process from beginning to end and see how it works. And you see all the challenges. And so that's really when I got super involved in it. So I'm on the Homeless Planning Council and on that executive committee as well. So what we're trying to do, we're 2 years into having our Office of Homeless Services. Before it was a division of our social services, and the leadership there was not so great. We've got a lot of organizations in Nashville or in Davidson County and in the surrounding areas that works in this space. However, historically, they've all worked in silo and not necessarily with the same goals in mind. So getting people on the same page to have a strategic plan that everybody is a part of, that everybody understands what they're supposed to do, and we're all moving in the right direction, that's been a real challenge. We have improved greatly from that perspective of just getting all of those nonprofit organizations on the same page. And if you're not on the same page, get out is what I tell them. If you're not going to be working the plan with us, I don't want you part of it because you're causing problems. And so I'm really glad that we are moving forward with Old Tent City and getting back on track because it's been a while since we've closed an encampment. That's not the only work that we're doing. We house about 125 to 150 people every single month that are not necessarily in a camp enclosure. So this work is constantly happening. So, with vouchers with MDHA, we've got shared housing. There's lots of things, all of our street outreach. We've hired several people that are out there doing that work every day to connect people with services. A lot of the frustration is, do you have a driver's license? Well, yeah, but I don't know. Well, where are you from? Well, I'm from Missouri. So now you got to go and advocate on behalf and try to get those documents, Social Security cards, so we can figure out, are you eligible for TennCare? What types of services do you have so that we can say, okay, these are the resources that this individual has. How can we plug them into the system and where should they go? So it's very, very complicated and everybody has their own story and reasoning behind. But I will say, I do feel hopeful. I really trust in the leadership that we have in April Calvin. I talk with her multiple times. In fact, I was talking with her yesterday about lots of different things, but we've really sort of corralled everyone, and we're getting more federal dollars every year. We have the collaborative applicant moved from MDHA to OHS, which is fantastic, and we basically doubled the federal resources that we receive there, which everything comes down to money. Somebody's got to pay for something. So feeling really, really good about it, but it is a very complicated and frustrating problem. Yeah.
Can you talk about the Titan Stadium, where they are status-wise? What's eventually going to cost the city of Nashville?
What again?
What will it cost?
What it cost?
The city of Nashville.
Yep. So that deal, again, I wrote an article on that with lots of great detail. It's at district26nashville.com. So the Titan Stadium deal was probably the most unbelievably negotiated deal that Metro Nashville has ever entered into, quite frankly. We pulled resources from the state. The state chipped in $500 million. They feel like it's an incredible investment for them, and they will pay off those bonds earlier than anticipated because of the economic development that deal allowed. Metro's piece in it is about $760 million. Those are revenue bonds. The revenue far outpaces our liability. No question about it. My biggest concern when putting that bond deal together, which basically that is what it is, was where does the waterfall go? Because for example, the Music City Center bond deal, those were also revenue bonds. And everything was great up until the point where there was so much overflow of revenue. Where did that money go? And there was nothing that was contemplated in that bond agreement. So it stayed in unrestricted cash reserves. So in 2019, it was about $320-ish million that the Music City Center was sitting on in unrestricted cash reserves that, in my opinion, should have come back to Metro to help pay for infrastructure needs, especially downtown, even if it stayed in that same entertainment district. So I was really concerned when we started talking about this was where is the waterfall going? So I sat down with our bond counsel, I sat down with our finance director, and we all got into a room and said, we've got to figure this out and have it be very, very prescriptive. The Titans are much more, or the NFL is much more on the hook for it. Their initial investment is at $860 million. Any overages goes to them. They also paid off the balance of our bond deal for the original Titan Stadium at $30 million. We owed them $32 million in improvements that we had no cash to give them, that they had to make because they were hosting people at least every week there. So we got rid of a lot of liability. The alternative there would have been for us to build a new stadium ourselves that was not domed, because that was the caveat that the state gave us and that the Titans did too. was to build our own or to renovate the existing. That money would have had to have come from the general fund, which would have been a general obligation bond, which would have required us to increase taxes exponentially. Not only to get rid of what we already had as far as liability, but the renovation and repairs itself. And so it also unlocked a development area there, about 30 acres, that's what the East Bank is what we're talking about, the vast majority of it anyway, of development, that instead of it being asphalt parking lots that are really bringing in nothing, now we can develop that area and start receiving sales tax and start receiving property tax as well, ad valorem property tax as well. So as far as the construction is going, they started, I feel like they were out there waiting for us to approve that deal with shovels in their hands. They started almost immediately, and it's going very, very well. I don't know if I know that they're supposed to be there for the 27 football season is when the new stadium will be used. I don't know if they're outpacing that construction timeline or not, but everything is going very, very well. That should be the benchmark of how to negotiate a bond deal, especially when you have multiple investors, in my opinion, is putting the taxpayer first. And that's exactly what we did. So no property taxes are going towards this. It's sales tax only in that area or from ticket sales. So the only time you pay for the Titans Stadium, if you're a Davidson County resident or anybody else, is if you go to the stadium or you frequent a business that is in that development area, period. Yes.
Could you tell us, so like the trash, the metal scrapyard that's downtown on the
Yeah.
river, okay? And then you go all the way along the river north, all the way to Oracle. I'm told there's like some grand plan. Could you tell us more about like transportation between there, or what do you know?
So the specifics of that, I think they've got a website online to talk about that, but that's exactly what they're developing right now. So they've created the East Bank Authority. There's the chief development officer that is basically his baby, which is who's Bob Mendez. They are planning on having transit there. They're going to have housing there. They're going to have retail there. What is it going to look like at this moment? I really don't know. I'm hoping TPAC will be there to someone else's question. It is being very, very well thought out. Hopefully we can execute properly. I have, so Falcon is the chief or the developer that we've chosen, and I've got a lot of faith and confidence in them. But so yes, there will be transit, there will be open green space and park, there will be housing, affordable as well. And so it remains to be seen sort of when that final plan comes out. The scrapyard is not necessarily part of it, although it is right there adjacent. The last I heard, it was under contract. I need to call a friend of mine that was sort of involved in that to see what's going on. My thought process, I would love, and I actually reached out to Carl Icahn myself, but he wouldn't talk to me until John Cooper was out of office. And I'm like, what does that have to do with anything? But okay, because he's wanting to sell it. I would love to put MLB there. MLB is wanting to come here with an expansion league. And I just think that would be, I don't know if you've been to Cincinnati before, but it is unbelievable. Their riverfront with green space, parks. They have a little entertainment district that is flanked by their MLB and NFL. And it is just absolutely amazing. That is exactly what we need. And I would love to see MLB come here, but that's my little dream, for that scrapyard space, but it just depends on who purchases it. Yeah, their first choice is the scrapyard. The second choice is it on TSU campus? It's somewhere around TSU. I totally disagree with that. I think that's nonsense. It was kind of a cool concept. They would have a river because they would be down there where the river sort of comes in at TSU. And so they would have like a river boat and whatever. Okay, that's cool. But it really needs to be, in my opinion, on the riverfront.
Back to the stadium.
Yeah.
In the new stadium, my understanding is today they had about 7,000 parking spaces. And in the new stadium, they're only going to have like 2,000. So what plans have really been made to get people in and out of that facility on a game day?
Yeah, there, what I was told, we will have another parking garage there that will be used for, game days. And so that will be helpful. But yes, so we'll have satellite areas where people can park and ride through the Titans. They're really wanting, and that's something that when I was talking to the CEO, was that NFL is sort of moving to anyway. It's to have more, transit, mass transit sort of facilitating coming in and out of there. I've driven to a Titans game. It's awful. I don't, it's so I get it. But we'll have buses. Hopefully we'll be able to start utilizing the riverfront even more. So if you wanted to go to the one of the marinas or park down there and take a boat, and there's lots of cool things, but that's how they're treating it. Really is just going to be more satellite areas to park and ride. Yeah.
Like coming on this side of the river and doing bringing transportation into the stadium. So we seem to be excited with the ministry.
Yeah, Burke was very excited about sort of the efficient nature of it. Instead of having thousands and thousands of cars coming in, having more mass transit come in and spread out all over the city. So he was not concerned. And, he makes money selling tickets to things. And so if people are irritated and they don't buy tickets because of that, so if he's okay with it, and he had a pretty good explanation, so I was okay with it. But yeah, it's mostly satellite stuff.
Thank you, Courtney. We appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's very, very interesting information. Thank you. Courtney, we have a book that we'd like for you to sign, and we read to first graders. So if you can sign your name and kind of what you spoke about, we really appreciate that. Don't forget to RSVP. We ran out of food today, and we only had 47 reserved for today. So please, 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 don't forget the RSVP, which will be in 2 weeks from today. So yes, I will. So as soon as we find out, we'll send an email out. Right. All right. Yeah, 2 weeks. Don't forget Granny White Pike. 2 weeks from today, Granny White Park at the pavilion. Don't forget to stack the chairs in 8 away from the walls. And if there's nothing to go to Rotary, we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.